so morgen kommen nach Hause in der Städtel, zu davenen auf Schabes, zu davenen auf Schabes, zu davenen auf Schabes, zu davenen auf Schabes, ahö, zu davenen auf Schabes. Und doch zu neu gekommen drei schönste Balabatten von dem Städtler, hey, ja, hey, ja, hey, ja, hey. Einer a Schneiderl, und einer a Schisterl, und einer a Balagoletschi. Jetzt Harry von der Schneiderla, hey, hey, ja, hey, ja, hey. Und hey, gedaven, also wie mit dem vor dem Matzi, mit der Nodelasto, also wie gedaven. Die Zachari von der Schisterla, hey, ja, hey, ja, hey, ja, hey. Hat gedaven, hat gedaven. Also wie ich die, mit dem vor dem Matzi, mit der Rollasto, also hat gedaven. Die Zachari von der Balagolchikla, hey. Oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, hat gedabert, hat gedabert, hat gedabert. Also wie ich die, mit der Jaschke Satzi, mit der Beitschaklab, jo! Also hat gedabert.
Okay, it is a fun one. Okay, Janet, will you start reading it, please? Janet?
We're saying Daniel or Janet? I can hear.
Janet, you're muted.
There.
Okay, now it's
I
good.
just unmuted it. Thank you.
Yeah. Now it's good.
Communal prayer, as it developed in synagogues after the destruction of the Second Temple, did not require.
What? Something went wrong, Janet?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we didn't. It kind of stopped. Okay.
Oh, it said my internet connection is unstable.
Ah, okay.
I hope
So
I'm not unstable.
Stable right now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear.
Okay. Generally, it was the rabbis and the Kohanim who led the service, whether it was recited or sung. Initially, Kazonim were assigned a variety of custodial and teaching tasks. The liturgy was mostly codified by the end of the 2nd century, and evidence exists of official salaried cantors from the 4th century.
Go on.
In Europe, not many congregations could afford to pay a chazan a living wage, so it was only a part-time job for many. In addition, increasing rabbinical requirements for the position made it even more difficult to find acceptable candidates. And some authorities ruled out people with physical handicaps or what were deemed to be character flaws. Women were excluded, of course.
Go on.
But wealthier communities could afford not only a full chazan, but possibly a choir as well. Those communities commonly held tryouts where chazanim competed for the job, as depicted in the 1931 film Chazan auf dem Probe, Cantor on Trial. As a result of such competition, a star system of celebrities evolved. We have listened to 3 such stars: Moshe Osher singing Halavai with the Berry Sisters, and Yosela Rosenblatt and Samuel Malofsky singing Sog Shine Rabbeinu.
Oh, okay, thank you. Elaine, will you start, please?
Sure. Let's see. Siz amol gekommen a Chazen in a Shtetl zu davenen of Shabbos. Hey, to davenen of Shabbos. Once a Chazen came to a Shtetl or a little town to daven on Shabbos. Hey, to daven on Shabbos. Sie sich zu Neufge kommen die drei schönste Balabatim von dem Shtetl. Hey. The three most pious, respectable men in the shtetl met. Hey. Einer a Schneiderl, und einer a Schusterl, und einer a Bal Egle Chickle.
Balagol.
Okay. One a tailor, one a shoemaker, and one, the word Egla is hearse, but I couldn't find, I don't know what that is.
No,
A hearse driver?
Balagola is a wagon driver.
Oh, because Egel was, oh, okay.
It's Balagola, and then Chickle. They're making it diminutive.
Balagola chick,
Chickle.
oh,
Balagola,
Balagola, okay,
yeah,
Balagola,
Is it
I know.
making the wagon diminutive or the driver
No, the
diminutive?
driver.
Driver, because that he's doing it, he's making fun of all of them. You know, it's a Chazandl, and it's a Schneiderl,
I never
and it's-
saw that diminutive. I never
Right,
saw
and
that.
Still, right. It's all of them are diminutive, so it's kind of putting them in
Balagola, I
their
knew.
place, you know.
Okay, and actually the illustration on one of the, when we sang the song should have given me a clue, because they showed a little picture of a little wagon. He had a little wagon.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Elaine. Eleanor, will you continue, please?
Ruft sich ob der Schneiderer. Hey, hat gedavent. So the little tailor came up and he davened. So wie ich tu mit dem vor dem Azi mit der Nodel a Stoff a Stoch ai azoi hat gedavent. Just as I do, what is the fodem?
Bread.
Sorry?
Bread.
It's a thread.
Oh, just as I do with the
Thread, right.
Just as I do a stitch with the thread
Right.
and with the needle, the cloth. Azoi, this is how he prayed. He davened.
Right.
Okay, go on.
Ruft sich ob der Schusterl. Hey, hat gedavent. So it was the turn of the shoemaker. Hey, he davened. Azoi wie ich tu mit dem vor dem Azi, mit dem Nodel a Stoch, azoi hat gedavent. Just as I do with a needle and thread and the cloth, that is how he prayed. That is how he davened.
So Stoch is the way he pokes with the needle.
Oh, he pokes it in?
Right. He
Yeah,
pokes
and
with
he
his
used
needle.
to pull the thread.
Right.
Working with leather.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Henrietta, can you read, please?
Okay. Daar zit auf der
Balagolchikel.
Balagonzak. Was ist das?
Wagon driver.
Here, you
Wagon
see?
driver.
Okay.
Look at the
Balagolchikel.
picture. Look at the picture, a wagon driver.
Hat gedavent. Hat gedavent. Azoi wie ich tu mit die Leister Azi.
Laces at sea.
Laces. Mit der, I can't see the words.
Beich. Mit der Beich a
Mit
klap.
der Deutsch. Oh, ja, so hat gedavent.
Gedavert.
Okay. Can you translate or we will let Maurice do it?
I'll let Maurice do that this morning, please.
No problem. So,
So
Maurice, please.
the Balagolchikul, so the wagon driver speaks up, hey, boy did he daven, but he's saying gedabert. It's just to make it a little cutesy instead of gedaven, gedabert. Azoi v'ichti, the way I do it, with the laces, that's the way I pull on the reins of the horses, with the baicha clap, with a boom, with my whip. Yeah, azoi hoter gedabert. So he reflects his own style onto the cantor who's on trial.
So is the Gedabert based on the Hebrew daber?
Yes.
I guess it
Yes,
is.
yes.
And it's a play on gedavint, yeah.
Okay, so I see people raise their hand. So Rafael and then Elaine. Rafael?
Yeah, a few things. Firstly, it sounded to me as he did say "ya" in that last line, but he could have been saying "vya." It's hard to hear, and "vya" is what a wagon driver says, like "giddy up," and so it might be "vya."
Could be, yeah.
Another thing about daberen, meaning to speak, one of the verbs in Yiddish to pray is zogen, and so it could be just a calque of zogen, to say. Gedabert, he spoke, that is, he prayed. And so, for example, if you're doing the Haftorah, you don't daven the Haftorah, you zog the Haftorah. And zogen means to continue praying. So it might be that the daberen is from zogen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Elaine, yes?
Can we go back to the Schuster?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was mit dem Fordem Atzi mit dem Nodel. Wait a
Stop.
minute. Schusterl. Okay. What? That's the same as the
Yeah.
tailor.
Yeah.
But the version that I translated, it was just like I do with a pull of the something. I don't let's see, hold on, the Schuster dem Formatzi mit dem Null Astoch, and Null was an all. So, oh no, and it wasn't Fodem, it was Fey, Dalid. It didn't have it had a different, it was almost the same. Okay, but Fodem was spelled, for the Schneider, it was Fey, Kometz Aleph, Dalid, Ayin, Mem, Mem Sophid, I don't know how you say it in Yiddish. And in this one, it was Fey, Dalid, Ayin, Mem, no Kometz Aleph. And when I couldn't find that, but the word was definitely not nodal, it was null.
What version were you listening to?
No, not that I was listening to, that I took off of the last email that I got, the one that has the news in Beverly's Corner and all that. That's where I got that from.
I don't send that out, so.
Yeah, that's Michael.
As far as I
Michael
know,
Moore.
Fordham is spelled away.
But I mean, it sort of doesn't really make sense with the shoemaker. Well, I guess, I mean, he
Why
could
not?
the shoes, but he's working on leather, so the all would make more sense, but I didn't know what
So you mean with them all Ashtoch?
no, mit dem null nun.
Okay, maybe Rafael is an answer.
I don't know that word.
It's
Rafael?
But it's
an
not,
unusual word, but that is correct. Null is an all, and that's very likely what he's saying. As far as Fodem is concerned, most likely that was just a misprint in what you were reading. The word is Fodem, and it's spelled with Kometz Aleph.
Okay, so it's a thread, but the all, because he's got to make the hole with the all. He can't make it with the needle, because the needle it's not strong enough, I would assume.
It depends on the
I've
needle.
never been a shoe store, so I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on the needle. Okay, Rochelle, you wanted to say something, but
I want to say something.
Yeah, I would,
it's just a moment.
yeah, it's the same verse as for the Schneider, but it is different. It's from the Theater Vinkl record, and I was looking for it to see what the translation was there.
Okay.
So I couldn't find it that fast. Anyway,
Okay.
it's not a repeat of the first of the Schneider stanza. It's different, but I don't remember exactly how.
Okay, Cookie.
First of all, I think they handmade shoes. They didn't have machines, so they did use some kind of a thread or something. The shoes are also stitched, so they had to have that. That's for that first thing. But what I wanted to say is, balagola figuratively is a real slur. If they say, "Oh, is there on balagola?" I've heard that so often in the house about somebody.
Another stereotype.
Yeah.
Huh?
Okay, Vinkl.
Yeah, just if you want to know other versions of this song, there's another version where it says that there's the Kalavachik. The Kalavachik, soll man geht mit den Hammer Zetz and mit den Kletsches Quetsch. So there's other tradespeople that apply their livelihood of what, you know, their metaphors or what they
Sure.
their work.
Okay,
So we could write our own
Who's to
verses, you know.
Who's to say that these were the three most pious Jews in town? Who decided that?
Well, they all say it's the three most pious. They all say there's a Balabak Melech, there's a Balagochik, and yeah, that's the third one in some versions is a Kovalchik.
Okay, let's listen to it once again.
Also, some places it says opet instead of up. The roof sich opet. So I looked that up, and it's the same as up, but it can mean to speak up or it can mean to finish speaking.
Must be some dialect.
Okay.
I just mention.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Michael.
To go along with what Raphael said about the fjord, and it's not fjord, it's probably fjord. The word at the end, Dabren, as opposed to Davinen, has a pejorative connotation. So the Balagola didn't like the Chazan. I think it's the contrast between Dabren and Davinen.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. Bonnie, yes?
Yeah, well, since they said they couldn't afford to pay someone and they would have to have another job, and in the synagogue I belonged to 2 years ago, that was exactly the cantor's role. He had another job. Wasn't a doctor or a lawyer, but he was fabulous. And not only did he have a beautiful voice, he was also so well trained, probably from his father, what he learned from the rabbi when he was a kid. He could lead services. So, but it seems that they're demeaning these people who are wagon drivers or carpenters as if they're not religious enough. I mean, am I picking that up from this conversation? To me, it doesn't add up.
You know, the song is considered by musicologists a folk song. They don't know when it originated or who wrote the first version, but we know that in the 1920s there were recordings made by Aaron Lebedev that we've listened to, and there were recordings by there was a recording made by Al Jolson. Al Jolson sang this song. So it goes back at least 100 years. And what it might have just been purely for comic effect. It might have been for one of those early Yiddish, vaudeville, Lower East Side, that kind of stuff, where satire was part of the bread and butter. And whoever wrote the song did a stupendous job. And What can I say? I hope
Yeah.
the Balagol chicks don't take offense, you know.
Okay, and I have a quick question. This song is very familiar, but to me, there's more to this song when his voice goes higher, 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 and faster. Or am I thinking of another song that's similar? Does anybody know? Because my father had a whole collection of these records.
I can't think of one, but the melody may have been used for a different song, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Steve?
Okay.
Yeah, I did not take this song as negative toward the Schuster or the Balagula. I think what the song is saying, and I'm not 100% sure, of course, but I think what they're saying is that there's a seamlessness to the lives of these working people. They don't they live they make their stitches beautiful during the week, and they pray like they do their craft. They do it with heart, and they do it with meaning, and it may not be the most beautiful thing that's ever been seen. It's not like the chazan coming to town, but I think it has a kind of a seamlessness between their lives and their prayers that makes it, I mean, that's kind of the beauty of being, um, if you're really a religious Jew, is that you actually live the practice of your religion in your life. You don't just live your life and then go to synagogue and,
Yeah, which
and
is, of course, the way it should be. Yeah. No, I
there's
didn't.
Can I finish what I'm saying, please, Brian, if you don't
Sure.
mind? I don't know how any of you have ever seen a play called "To Live Another Summer to Pass Another Winter." It was an Israeli musical from many years ago, and there's an amazing story, and I'll try and do it very short, of this man that went to find the most religious man in the world. And he goes to find this Holzhacker in somewhere in the Ukrainian forest. And he can't wait for Shabbos because because he doesn't do anything except wake up in the morning, eat an enormous amount, go out, chop trees, come back, and eat an enormous amount. That's all he does. So the guy thinks, okay, Shabbos, it must be like a Gan Eden. But on Shabbos, he does the same thing. He eats, he goes out, and and the whole story comes down to he remembered his father, who was a pious man, who was killed in a pogrom. He was a slight figure who got set on fire on a tree during the pogrom and went out like a match. And he says in the story why he's seen as such a religious man by these wise men of Helm, if there is such a thing, is that he says that when they come to burn me, he said, I will be so big, I will be a candle that will light up the world for weeks.
Fabulous story.
That is incredible. Wow.
I think that there's something similar in this song than is in that story.
Wow.
Very interesting. Good.
Splendid.
Thank you, Steve.
Wait,
That's
I wanna
really
say something.
wonderful.
That story about the Holzhacker was told to us by a very well-known, I'm sorry, I didn't hear your beginning, Steve, but that's one of my husband's favorite stories.
Mine too.
Haka Holzhacker. And what was his name? Well, I'll have to think of the
I can only tell you, I saw the road company of a Broadway musical. It was an Israeli musical called, I believe it's called To Live Another Summer to Pass Another Winter, or the other way around. And it's just a lot of songs and stories, and that was the one that stayed with me for I guess 50 years now.
I try to remember his name. Of course, now I can't remember anyone's names, but he always told that. He was a very well-known Yiddish teacher in New York. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I suggest we listen to it once again.
So davene no Shabbos ahoi, so davene no Shabbos. Doch zu neu kim drei schönste Balabatten von dem Städtler. Hey, ja, hey, ja, hey, ja, hey. Einer a Schneiderl und einer a Schiesterl und einer a Balagoletschi. Jetzt Harry von der Schneiderla. Hey, hey, ja, hey, ja, hey. Hat hey, gedacht. Hat hey, gedacht. Also wie mit dem vor dem Matzi, mit der Nodelasto. Also hat gedacht. Jetzt Harry von der Schisterla, hey, ja, hey, ja, hey, ja, hey, hat gedacht, hat gedacht, also wie ich die, mit dem vor dem Matzi, mit der Rohlastoch, also hat gedacht. Jetzt Harry von der Balagolchikla, hey, hey, ja, hey, ja, hey, hat gedabert, hat gedabert, hat gedabert. Also wie ich die, mit der Jaschke Satzi, mit der Beitschakljab, yo! Also hat gedabert.
Okay. Any comments?
Yes, I have a request.
Yes.
I get different pages that looks different than what you saw in the class.
But Neely, I'm sending it to you every week. I am
No,
resending
but
it.
I don't know why it looks different. Can I get the same one that you saw on the? I don't
This
know.
is what I show is the PowerPoint that Michael Moore is preparing, and I usually don't check if it really fits. I believe that Michael is taking.
I noticed that it's different the last few times today.
Okay, so you know what? Next time I will check and see if the PowerPoint is different from. Okay, I will check next time and I will see. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, no problem.
I
Any
just,
other?
I just wanted to say I really liked how he wowed his tongue at the end of the song. It reminded me a lot of Mexican music, so I was so surprised to hear that sound come in a Yiddish song.
Minna?
Yes, Beverly.
So this was continued when they came to America. There were choirs, and for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, they would audition. In New York, I don't know about any other places. Of course, my brothers were in the choir, and so was my husband. He sang with very famous choir directors. My brothers sang with a very two-bit kind of a choir director, and they would go to different synagogues and audition for these jobs, and then they would get paid. So it was continued when they came from Europe, at least in where I was growing up. And I went to sleep. They would rehearse in my little tiny apartment, and I went to sleep hearing them singing these songs. When I came to Beth Yeshurun, I heard those songs. It was so warm in my heart. Those prayers, the same tunes I would hear. So anyway, this was continued.
Beverly, where did you grow up?
Brownsville, Brooklyn.
Oh, okay. At my synagogue when I was a kid. Now this is a rural part of Pennsylvania, so you can imagine we were not a very big synagogue. We changed rabbis. Somewhere I must have been 12 years old, right? Because this was shortly before my bar mitzvah. We changed rabbis, and this new rabbi comes in, and he's really convinced that we're going to have a choir because he'd come from a much larger synagogue where they had a full-time cantor, and he thought we'll get a choir together, at least like for some Shabbats, right? Maybe for celebratory things and whatnot. And all we had were the membership of the synagogue. We couldn't hire people in. There wasn't an extended Jewish community. You just had people who were willing to volunteer their time, and I mean, this was a fakakta idea. I mean, you had people who really had no business singing in public. So that lasted for about a month, and then we went back to business as usual.
Okay. Okay. So before we are moving to Trines, next week we are going to celebrate our third Seder. Starting tomorrow, I will send each and every one his portion of reading. Now, if you are not able to come next week, or you cannot read the poem or whatever I'm sending you, that's not a problem. Someone else will read it. I'm sending the portion of reading in advance, so you will get familiarized with it, and it will be easier for you to read it during the third Seder. So the third Seder is entirely in Yiddish, and we do not translate it into English. So we just read it from beginning to end, and then towards the end, if anyone wants to share with us any experience or traditions that he had at his childhood home, or right now when he's a grown up, we are grown up, yeah? So if you want to share anything with us, that will be mostly welcome. Yes, Bonnie.
Is this the one that we're starting earlier?
Yes, yeah. And we are starting it at 10 o'clock. The same connection, not a problem. Same connection, only 10 o'clock. Barbara, did I forget something?
I don't think so. I think I'm glad you mentioned that somebody should bring something into it from his own background, from his own tradition. I appreciate that. Yeah. But it's also a tradition to have a Dritte Seder in different organizations. And that's why we do it, because we've been doing it for years.
The only thing, we won't do the Kiddush and the thing, because it's not really the holiday. It's not really Passover. So I think we will skip the parts of the Kiddush, and it's not the holiday. So let's leave this. Anyway, let's move. We are dedicating this session, and maybe the next one, we will see how it goes, to Trines. And it's a very important subject in Jewish women history. And we are lucky to have Marna with us, Rabbi Marna with us. I'm stating you're a rabbi.
I've been outed.
You have been outed. Rabbi Marna with us. And she, for a whole summer, she read Trines with another person, Sharon something, I don't remember her name and last name, and a group of people. And so Marna will give us a short talk,
little introduction
about a short introduction to Trines. Please, Marna.
Thanks, Mina. So yeah, Sharon Power is one of my Yiddish teachers. She's based in Toronto. I found her online early in the pandemic and took a couple of courses with her. And I was really interested in studying Techinas, and she was kind enough to join me in this. It was stimulated by the discovery of this wonderful little book when a shul about 30 miles to our south was shutting down about 30 years ago. And most of their Sidurim and Sifrei Kodesh needed to be buried because they were so tattered or mildewed. And I found this among them and rescued it. I knew enough to identify it, but not much more than that. It was before I'd seriously started studying Yiddish. And so it just sort of sat there on my shelf until finally I got to it. So this is a wonderful little volume that was published in New York in 1916 by the Hebrew Publishing Company. And I'll get back to it in a minute, but Tchinas seem to have originated around the late 1500s. Women were obligated to pray as men were, but while there was pretty universal literacy in the Jewish world, at least compared to the world of our non-Jewish neighbors, women were largely literate in Yiddish. Most of them didn't go to Cheder, didn't learn Hebrew or Aramaic as their brothers did. And the idea arose that since God presumably understood Yiddish, there was no reason women couldn't pray in the Mama Lashon. And we start finding tchinas, which has nothing to do with sesame paste. It comes from the same root that tachanun comes from, like please or entreaties. And I think there's been this kind of interesting convergence of a revived interest in Yiddish and an interest in women's studies and women's reality that has brought tchinas into the spotlight in the past few years in a way that really they never were before. So it appears that some of them were written by men for women to say, and some of them were actually written by women. And we don't always know, we can't always identify the author because we find the same tchina printed in a number of places attributed to different people. Sometimes they come with instructions like to be said with great kavana, to be said with great fervor. Some of them say by women, and some of them even say by women and unlearned men. Like if a man couldn't, manage the Hebrew, it was okay for him to pray in Yiddish too. And they fall pretty much into three categories. Some of them are parallels to, or in some cases even direct translations of prayers from the Hebrew liturgy. And those are interesting, linguistically, but don't add much to our knowledge of women's experience. The second category relates particularly to the three mitzvot that are traditionally enjoined upon, that women are traditionally enjoined to do, to light Shabbos candles, to make and separate challah, and to observe the laws of ritual purity. So we find tchinas for going to the mikvah. We find so the ritual purity ones surround women's sexuality and fertility. We find tchinas for going to the mikvah. We find tchinas for going to the mikvah, coming home, reuniting with your husband and praying that tonight you will conceive a child, a healthy child, ideally a male child who will grow up to be a Torah scholar. We find a lot of those. The ones that we found the most interesting are historical or topical tchinas. And, think about this book and think about New York in 1916 and what was happening. Some of them are just amazing and poignant and wrenching. There's a tchina to be said upon hearing bad news from the old country, learning of a pogrom. There's a tchina to be said by a woman who's going out collecting tzedakah, asking God, to open people's hands that they should give to her generously. There's a tchina to be said by a woman a widow, who can no longer live on her own and is forced into the indignity of living with her married son and daughter-in-law, asking God, to enable her and her daughter-in-law to live together in harmony. There is a tchina to be said when there's a magefa, when there's a plague, which, we were reading in COVID site, right? And then this was really amazing. Sharon found on the Open Siddur Project website a contemporary tchina
that someone had written, a Tchina to be said, believe it or not, upon receiving a vaccine. And that paired beautifully with our Magefa Tchina. It was written, I actually don't know what it was originally written in, but on the Open Sea Door Project website, it appears in English, Hebrew, Yiddish, and Hungarian. Go figure.
We will read it afterwards. I have it here.
Oh, cool. Okay, great. There are a number of Haskara Nishamas Tchinas. There is a very poignant one for the victims of the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire.
Mm.
And there is another very poignant and very graphic one for the victims of the Titanic. And it talks about the creatures of the deep feasting on the corpses of the dead, and it particularly focuses in on Isidore and Ida Strauss. I don't know how many people know those names, but they were department store owners, and very wealthy. They were traveling in first class. And the story that was told by Ida's maid is, people were scurrying around on deck yelling, women and children into the lifeboats. And Ida and her maid were sitting in a lifeboat, and she realized that her husband was not going to come with them. And she climbed out, and she took her mink coat, put it on the shoulders of her maid, and they were last seen sitting on deck holding hands as the lifeboat was launched, and they both died. And there were parades in their memory in New York City. They were beloved. They were very wealthy and very philanthropic. And what I find absolutely fascinating is this Tchina puts into Ida's mouth the words from the Book of Ruth, whither thou goest, I will go. That she was not willing to be saved, knowing that he would die. And I think it's just such an amazing, delicious, creative use of the biblical text by the writer of the Tchina. We picked and chose, we just plucked ones that seemed interesting to us out of this little book and a few other sources. And there's lots more to read, but they're very fun and very delicious. They give us glimpses into women's lives and what was important to women that may have been, in some cases, paralleled what was important to all Jews at the time, and in some cases, really unique to women's lives.
Thank you. Thank you, Marna. Any questions to Marna? No? No questions? Okay. So let's start reading it. Let's start reading the Tchines. So where I am. Okay. So
I do have a question.
Yes.
When a young bride is walking down the aisle and they say prayers, is that Tchinas?
Could be.
They hold a book and they're saying prayers, a young bride. No?
I know that there is a tradition in some Hasidic communities
Right.
for the groom's parents to gift the bride a book of Techinas.
Oh, really?
But I don't know. I know that my mother walked down the aisle holding a bridal Bible. I don't know how representative that was, and that was in 1956. So
but they're
I
praying.
don't know.
They're praying when they're walking down the aisle with the book, holding the book. I wonder if it's Techinas. We could ask.
I don't know. Can I just interject one more thing that I left out? My absolute favorite Techina,
was one to be said upon lighting Shabbos candles, and it's full of, it starts with, God, as I light these candles, may I bring the peace and rest and warmth of Shabbos into my home, bless my husband, bless my children. And then it goes on and it says, God, here in this country, life is hard, and sometimes we can't observe your holy Shabbos the way we know you want us to. Sometimes we have to work, and we're not being deliberately disobedient, and we're not, being deliberately Mechalel Shabbos, or, we're not desecrating your Shabbos on purpose. It's just that we need to put food on the table, and we have no choice, and please forgive us. And then there's this little sort of like, and God, like, if you could help us out a little bit more in the realm of Parnassa, then we wouldn't need to desecrate your holy Shabbos. So, please, think about that, God. It's chutzpahdik, and it's delicious, and it's also really poignant.
It's a negotiation.
It's a negotiation. Good to you.
Yeah. Do that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have here, I sent you the screeners from a book that is bilingual, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to understand it at all. So Susan Gunn sent it to me long ago, and it says The Merit of Our Mothers. And it has a recollection of trines, and they are both in English and in the Yiddish, of course. And it's in such a Yiddish that we need refoil.
With Nekudot even.
Yeah. So Refoil, can you read it, please?
Sure. Just a few things about the orthography here, the spelling. You'll find extra vowels that you don't really need, but that's the least of the problems. You'll find that the s, instead of using a samech, it's almost always a sin. Yeah. Also, there's no punctuation. So you've got to guess where to put in a pause and where a sentence should end. So I can try. And we'll see how it goes.
Also, like nun, they are not writing it like the final nun, the nun sofi, and they are writing it a usual nun, I see.
Right, some of the time. It's not consistent. So
no.
Can you make it a little bigger? Can you make it a little? Can you expand it a little?
Yes. I am making it bigger. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll read a little. Das sagt sie, wenn sie tut Licht zünden, Shabbos und Yontif mit Kavana. This is what she says when she is lighting the candles, Shabbos and Yontif, with intention. Gott, du bist heilig. God, you're holy. Und hast geheiligt dein Volk Israel. And you have sanctified your people Israel. Und hast geheiligt dem Shabbos. And you've sanctified the Sabbath. Du bist allein. Und unsere Eltern hast du auserwählt. Okay, you are alone. You are solitary, I guess. And our ancestors, and you have selected our ancestors, Oysterwelt, unter alle Völker, from all the peoples, zu dein Dienst, for your service, allein, only, und zu ruhen, and to rest. Hast du der Welt dem Shabbos, und zu ruhen, hast du der Welt dem Shabbos allein. And for the purpose of rest, you have selected the Sabbath itself. Zu ehren, to, now ehren, it's kind of a Germanic word. It means to respect, to give respect to it. Und sänftigen sich, and to satisfy oneself, something like that. Zu leuchten Licht, to kindle candles. Und zu haben Freude, and to be happy. Und Lust, and to have enjoyment. In deinem Dienst, Heint, in your service today, in deinem heiligen Shabbos, in your holy Sabbath, welchen wir seinen schuldig zu halten, because we are obligated to observe mit alle Sachen, with all of its details. As ein chosen dikala, just as a groom his bride respects, right? Noch reden unsere Chachamim, and more so, our sages say, dass sie haben gerufen dem Shabbos Kala, that they were calling the Sabbath a bride. Und ich hab schon angezündet die Licht. I have already kindled the lights, nach geboten deine, following your commandments. Nach geboten deine Chachamim, following the requirements of your sages. Die da wesen dein heilige Torah. They who understand your holy Torah. Zu lernen, to study, und zu heiligen dein Namen, and to sanctify your name. In dein Torah, du allmächtiger Gott, give mir, I'm going to go back a little bit. I'm going to put in dein Torah as with the end of the previous sentence, and to sanctify your name in your Torah. Du allmächtiger Gott, you almighty God, give mir und mein Mann, give me and my husband, und meine Kinder and my children, und mein Hausgesind, and the members of my household, dem heiligen Shabbos, the holy Sabbath, zu ruhen, to rest, zur Heiligkeit, for holiness, und Sinnhaftigkeit, and satisfaction, und behit uns, für alle böse Geschehnisch, and protect us from all evil occurrences. Die das pflegen zu kommen, those which are accustomed to come, heint, these days. Von wegen das Mazel, von dem bösen Stern. What's that?
Yeah.
Von wegen das Mazel, von dem bösen Stern. Something about the constellation with an evil star.
Yeah, it says in the translation, the unlucky conjunction of the planets.
Okay, that's good, because Mazal is a constellation, of course.
Yeah.
Wie ich tu on Zindenlicht, dem Shabbos, as I am kindling lights on this Sabbath, zu ehren, dem Shabbos zu ehren, in order to respect the Sabbath. Herr von der ganzen Welt, master of the entire world, give mir Kinder, give me children, dass sie sollen leuchten, that they should also kindle in or be bright perhaps in der Torah, in the Torah. Und schick uns die Bracha, and send us the blessing mit dem guten Malach, with the good angel, der da geht bei die rechte Hand von dem Menschen, the one who goes on the right-hand side of a person. Und der Beser Malach, and the evil angel, soll der Ruf Amen sagen, should have to respond Amen. Und wir sollen solche sein, and we should have the merit, dass du sollst uns machen arben, dem Tag, that you should make us, now arben, that's another German word. What is arben?
Inherit.
Thank you, inherit, thank you. Inherit the day. Was is Gor Shabbos, the day which is entirely Sabbath. Yom Shekulo Shabbos, yeah? Das ist gemacht, als wir sollen der Leben, die Zeit. And that was created that we should survive the time von Trias HaMesim, survive up to the time of the revival of the dead. Gelobt bist du Gott. Praised are you, God.
Baruch atah Adonai.
Exactly. Der da lebt ewig. He who lives forever. Amen.
Okay, that was
Wow.
wonderful. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good.
Okay, so I have a list of people that raised their hand. So let's start with Vinkl. Vinkl?
Yeah, it was about that word Zenftigen. I found that it might mean to mellow. And so as part of Shabbos practices that you mellow, like you rest a wine and it mellows, so it becomes sweeter. So to honor and mellow. You've commanded us to honor and mellow ourselves.
Yeah.
I kind of liked that. I'm not sure if it really means satisfy or mellow. I was wondering why you thought it meant satisfy. What would be the root of it if it was satisfy?
I was guessing from German, but someone who knows German can answer this one better.
Daniel? Daniel, you're still with us?
Sorry, I was taking a call. What's the word?
Okay, so Senftigen, what is it in German?
Senftigen, I hear it used for milling. That comes up. That's the only one I can really think of. There was a word for making mustard connected to it. I'm assuming.
Well, yeah,
no,
Senft is mustard,
not
but
from
that's not it.
Not from Zenf. Eleanor?
Oh, yes, I wanted to ask you, is this book with the 2 languages for sale anywhere?
I have no idea. I received it. Susan Gantz sent it to me from Florida. So I really don't know. You can check.
Yeah, you can find it.
Yeah,
I don't know
you
if
can
it's in
check.
print,
The
but you
Merit
can
of
find it.
Our Mothers, a bilingual anthology of
Say
Jewish
that
women's
once more
prayers.
slowly. Say the name of the book, please, very slowly.
The Merit of Our Mothers.
Andy's posted it. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
Andy? Okay, thank you, Andy. Okay, so Bonnie, yes.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask about the use of do when speaking to God. So it's in the familiar. I don't know. I mean, is that usual?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely. It's universal in Yiddish and in Hebrew, and also in Older English. Thou, blessed be thou. Thou is the familiar. You is the formal. Thou is the familiar in older forms of English. So this is, you speak to God in the familiar.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, that's very heartening.
It's
actually.
intimate.
Intimate.
Yeah.
Elaine? Elaine, you raised your hand.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm interested, is the spelling with all the vowels, with all the Hebrew vowels, is this how it was originally produced, printed, with using the vowels? It's sort of like a cross between Hebrew and Yiddish spelling.
Yeah, this particular kind of spelling was common maybe 200 years ago.
Interesting. And I noticed the only, sometimes they use the longer nun and sometimes they don't.
Right. It's a printer's choice.
It's a printer's choice. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
all right.
doesn't say in the book from where they took it or what is the date.
Yeah, I was just wondering, when this was published and
No, they don't say it in the book, but I use this book because they had the English translation, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to do it at all. So let's read another one. Let's read another Trine. Someone is okay. There is okay. Ein Ansprache gegen einen Ohre. Michael Fissman, do you want to fight with it?
I can tackle it, but before I try, to the previous Trina, there was the word geschech, where was it? I thought, geschechenisch, and this is a question for a file.
This one, geschechenisch, this one?
Because normally I would have read it geschehenisch, something happened. Is geschehenisch also a Yiddish word or not?
I was translating it as geschehenisch, but it could be from Stechen? No, it wouldn't have lost the t. Geschehenisch. Geschehenisch. Yeah, I bet it is just a version of Geschehenisch.
Okay.
Something that happens.
Happens. Right. Okay, so Michael, let's start.
Forgive me. Okay. An Einsprache gegen ein Hara, a incantation against the evil eye. Ein gewisser Refuhr für ein Hara, Mechachmot, Rav Hagamora, der Anspruch, no, Rav, the specific healing for or medication against the evil eye from the wisdom of the rabbi of the Gomorrah. Der Anspruch sagt, the incantation says, muss sich die Hand waschen. You have to wash your hands. Umlegen die Hand auf den Kopf and or auslegen, put the hand on the head von der Kranken of the sick one, as sei ein Kleinkind, whether it's a small child oder ein alter Mann or an old man or a Weib or a woman. What kann man von den Kranken nehmen ein Häub, or you can take from the sick person the hat. It's a woman's hat, I think, or a tuch or a cloth, und soll es nicht weit halten von sein Kopf, and they shouldn't hold it far from his head, und soll noch, I think it should be der noch, and should afterwards die Häub oder das Tuch dem Kranken unter dem Kopf legen, and after that they should put the hat or the cloth under the person's head. Die Hilfe of fun is German, so it's fun, Gott's den Allmächtiger, der heilt alle Kranken, and with the help of God the Almighty, who here heals all the sick, der soll opton von dir, opton von dir alle Wehtog, he should remove from you all pain. Please correct me if I go off.
It's okay, it's okay. I'm
Okay.
following the translation.
Sorry?
I'm following the translation. So
Okay.
Perfect.
Alle Wehtog und Beser Bagegenish and evil and bad, problematic encounters, wenn dir ist eingekommen, wenn es ist wenn dir, if something came to you, as I von ein bösen Anblick, whether it's from an evil looking at you, gaze, as I von ein Mann, whether it be from a man, or von ein Frau, or from a woman, as I von alt oder jung, whether from old or young, soll dir nicht taten. I think that must be schaden. It shouldn't harm you. I don't know the word taten, but is that correct?
I think it's the translation is to threaten.
To
threaten, but I don't know if it's taten.
Frigten, that one?
No, this one, taten.
Oh, spell it, Minna.
It's a tet and aleph, dalet.
No, spell the English.
Not harm you, that it will not harm you.
No, threaten.
Harm,
Threaten you,
not
not
harm
threaten.
you.
Not threaten you.
T-H-E-R-A, T-H-R-E-T-E-N,
Not
threat.
threaten you.
I
Yeah.
shouldn't threaten you. So it'd be straschen, actually. If it was, anyway, taten dein Leben, threaten your body, Leben and your life, noch nicht an dein Lung, and also not your lung or the Herz or heart. Eliyahu Hanavi hat dagegen der Malach Ashti Buddha, the Eliyahu the prophet met the angel Astri Buddha, sprach Eliyahu Hanavi zu ihm, and Eliyahu the prophet said to him, Wo gehst du hin? Where are you going? Dort sagte ich will gehen, denn Ploni Bad Ploni, I am going to the following person, Ploni Bar Ploni, and will seine Glieder und Fleisch will trinken sein Blut. And I want his limbs and his flesh and his blood to drink. So dort sagt Eliyahu Hanavi to him. So now Eliyahu Hanavi says to him, I think I've done my share. So someone else can.
Okay, thank you. Perfect. It was really, thank you. Maurice, will you try? Maurice, do you want to try to continue? Where is Maurice? He's not here. I don't see him. Okay, I don't see him. So, David Katz, will you continue?
Dank. Zij voil, zij voil, als du kennst Rashus host, be good, everything that you can, that you, as you have no authority. Wow, how do you translate all that? Hast oits zu trinken. You drank out alle Wasser, all the water. Oim den Meer. Oim den Meer. Sei sollst du nicht Rashust oben zu schädigen im. If you drink all the water, you will not have any, you should not have any more authority or ability
authority or permission.
Permission to harm him.
Yes, and on the Meer, drink all the water in the sea.
Om den Meer, yeah.
In the sea, that's also German.
No, yeah, verstehe, yeah, dank, yeah. Sein Leib, his body.
His body.
Euch nicht an einem von seiner Glieder. Also not one of his limbs, seine Glieder. Auf keinerlei Ort von der ganzen Welt. And in any place in the entire world. Hat einer gegeben ein Beis Oig. Has anyone, no one gave him an evil eye, a Beis Oig.
Yeah, if someone has given him the evil eye.
So nowhere he will get an evil eye. Soll es ihm nicht schaden bei Tag noch bei Nacht, sei als wenn die Kinder von Josef Hatzedek hat man kein Beis Oig kennen geben. Okay, so you're not going to get any evil eye. So it to him not be harmed. He will not get harmed either by day and by night. as one, the children from as just like the children of Joseph, our the saint, the tzaddik, our patriarch, had that he had gave no evil eye against. He didn't give an evil eye, I guess, against his brothers, right? In the Torah, in the Bible. Sei soll es dir euch nicht schaden uns. Ehemann ken Salen soll dich.
Hashem yitbarech.
Bless the Lord, the Almighty, blessed be His name. Halen. So, and so it shall to you also not be harmed. Us.
So it says that may an evil glance not harm you.
Yeah, not harm you, and can Salen soul.
And before you can count, and before you can count to 9.
Count. You should be healed. Und zu dieser Stunde sollst du sein gesund, dass die vor in dass die in God's Nomen var Amen Selah. So to us in this hour, you should be healthy, and
Amen.
And this was in God's and this was in this is in God's name, you know. Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
Thank you. Bonnie, you have a question. You are muted.
I wanted to ask about the Jewish origin of the evil eye, because I was just looking it up, and it says it comes from Mesopotamia, Greek, Turks. So is this in the Talmud? Where is this the evil eye written in as far as Judaism originally, if anyone knows?
It's like a pan-Mediterranean custom, as I understand it. I don't think it shows up in the Talmud, but I'm not certain.
It's folklore.
Yeah.
Strictly folklore. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, that makes sense to the fact that it was all over, the region for thousands of years. Got it.
So I think we had enough of Zebrachen the Chain with this. And we will read the modern one, but before this, I see that Mariv has a question or a comment.
I have 2 questions. The easy one first is that Omen Salah at the end. I think Salah is Arabic, isn't it?
No, I think it's from
Hebrew.
It's Hebrew.
What does it mean?
It's all over Tehillim.
Yeah.
What does it mean literally?
Selah is like a rock. No?
But no,
that's with Sadi. That's
with an
Selah.
iron.
No, Selah it's a praise word. It's kind of like
like hallelujah or something.
Yeah.
Okay, just a phrase you could. And the more difficult one is, what does this deal with Eliyahu Hanavi and an angel that I couldn't find anywhere on the internet? Where does this angel come from?
Who knows?
Who knows?
The folklore. Who knows? Yeah, Rafael, maybe he knows where he came from. Rafael.
No, I think they kind of made up angels' names as they needed them. There were books of angelology. I don't know if they're well studied, but I wanted to point out that the question arose, where does the concept of ayin hara come from? And the earliest one I could find, not in the Torah, but in Pirkei Avos, which is in the Mishnah. Rabbi Hoshua Omer, ayin hara v'yetzer hara v'sinas habrios, motzi'in es ha'adam min ha'olam. The following things bring a person out of the world, cause him to die. And one of them is ayin hara, the evil eye. So, so there is at least an early citation. This is Rabbi Hoshua, put him around the year 150.
Okay. So just for
like a superstition. It's a superstition.
Yeah, kind of. Just for the fun of it, let's read the one that Chine for vaccination. So, Karen, will you read the Chine for vaccination? Karen, someone is speaking. So,
Here.
okay, Karen, please. Who is speaking?
Whoever's got the radio on, please
I
mute.
found it. I found it. Ann.
Okay. Okay, so Karen, please. That's Hebrew. יהי רצון מלפניך.
יהי רוצים
רצון מלפניך.
מלפניך.
May it be your will.
And the next line too is Hebrew.
Yeah, Adonai Elokeinu ve'Elokei Avoteinu, God,
Thank you.
our God and our ancestral gods.
Thank you. As die Immonierung, was wir bekommen. I don't know this word immonierung.
The
Yes, you do.
vaccination.
It's immunization.
Yeah, the immunization. You are a doctor, no, Karen? So you need you need to know this. The vaccination.
If the immunization that we receive soll bringen refuah, bracha und it's
Hatzalah.
will bring healing, blessing, and is it success?
Redemption.
Redemption.
Yeah, saving.
Saving,
Yeah,
saving.
salvation.
Salvation.
Yeah.
Und uns Schummer sein von
Don't have this page.
Isurim und schwere Krankheiten and protects from Isurim. I don't
like suffering.
Suffering and strong sicknesses.
Yeah. And bad sicknesses, yeah.
Soll die dosige Immunierung ich
משפיע sein.
This very immunization quickly should, I don't know that word.
How do you say?
Like
what?
Influence?
No, it should be
Effective.
Effective. It should be effective very quickly.
Should be effective quickly. Thank you. An kein Sach wetigen und an kein Schum seitige Effekten. Without pain and without in any kind of side effects.
Yes, exactly.
Und als
Schus
von der dosiger Immunierung and in
merit
that, I'm sorry.
And in the merit of this.
Oh, in the merit of this here vaccine, sollst du Rebenu shel Oilem Schumer sein, die was sennen nicht
capability.
Es zu bekommen, it should
And you should God,
Lord of the world, God, protect that these or those who are not meriting to
No, not meriting, able, that they are not
able to receive die kleine Eufelecha. I don't know that.
The small children, Eufelen, the small children, the babies.
The little babies, die alte Leid und die Kranke, the old people and the sick ones.
Okay, thank you. I'll continue. ויהי רצון, may it be your will, as the
Can you
Krankenschwester.
send this paper? I didn't
But
get
I sent it.
I
Nearly.
did not get it.
I don't know what's going on with your computer. I really sent it.
Can you?
Anyway, ויהי רצון, may it be your will, as the Krankenschwesters, that the nurses, the sanitars, the doctor freuen und mansbillen. Look, the men and women doctors, was immunieren uns, that are vaccinating us, sollen leben in Schulem lange Jahren, that they shall live in peace for long years, sollen solche sein oben Parnusse und Zlocha, and they should have Parnusse and success, und der Schuss, wo sei eaten up unter unser Gesundheit, and may the merit of them keeping us healthy, soll sei stehen bis zum Sof von sei Leben, and it will be until the end of their life. Und als in dem Schuss, wo sie sehen, mekayem die Mitzvah, and in the merit that they are doing this mitzvah, ונשמרתם מאוד לנפשכם, and you should guard yourself, sollen mir solche sein, hoffen, unsere Sinn und Töchter, that we should be able to raise our son and daughters לתורה, לחופה ולמעשים טובים, to the Torah, to getting married, and to the good deed. ברוך שומע תפילה. Bless you.
Amen, amen.
Beautiful.
So that was the one that was written for COVID vaccination. So yeah, if you want to listen to it in Hungarian, my guest now, I have a guest now who knows Hungarian. So, okay, but I think we should.
At the time, we were honoring the doctors and the nurses. Don't forget, we were putting signs out. God bless the doctors and the nurses. So that's, and they were singing to them. So I think this is part of that.
Yeah.
Mina, if you want to say something nice to your Hungarian guest, say Csoko megesegement.
Okay, and what does this mean?
Kiss me on Torres.
Okay, that's a good one. Okay, I see that
That's the best one.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is the origin of this prayer that we just read? And is that from the open source? I mean, if it's
from the internet.
Yeah,
From the internet.
somebody wrote it early during the pandemic.
Sure.
Okay.
And
Well, we were
posted
doing
it.
that. Decaf.
Got it.
But it's definitely a real mix of the Hebrew and the Yiddish. It's not.
Yeah. So
Not infrequent.
Bondi, that was your question. Okay. Any comments? We want, it's a very important subject, but it's really difficult to read. So next week we will not continue reading it because it's really, mit zerbrach de Zeit. So
This whole session was absolutely fascinating.
I agree.
Bravo.
thank you, Marna. You have to thank Marna for it because she alerted me.
And I just want to say it's so interesting because I guess because this is my vocabulary and because I have the liturgical Hebrew, this is way easier for me to read than a lot of other stuff.
Really?
Okay. I don't think it was easy. We are really, thankful
No,
to
I can
Rafael,
see that,
to
yeah.
Michael, and to David Katz. We are really grateful for, trying to do
And
it.
to you, Bina.
Well, I did it because Marna asked me so.
Thank you,
So-
Mina.
I'm
Yeah,
glad you
and
followed through.
I just wanted to mention that a couple of months ago at the Rosh Chodesh group that I belong to for my synagogue, it's not denominational, but it's more conservative Reconstructionist, and we had a session on the Techinas. I mean, it was very brief. It was not as extensive as
Well,
this,
that's
but
great because you hardly ever hear about this.
yeah, and one woman had the Techinas from her aunt, and it was written in German.
Cool.
And there was one or two people who were able to read the German, and I was trying to pick out the Yiddish as I was looking over her shoulder.
Was it written in was it German with
It was
Yiddish?
totally in German, but she was reading it aloud because I couldn't. The German.
But was it Yiddish letter?
No, it was completely in German. In fact, she had she wasn't able to read it fluently, so she had the alphabet in front of her to help. But as she was reading it, I was trying to pick out a couple of words that sounded like Yiddish, and I could make a little bit of sense, but very little. But anyway, this was actually, she just brought it on Sunday as a follow-up, so we've been having kind of a nice time with it. And then I discovered my mother's book of Psalms, not the Techinas, and I've been saving it. It's this tiny little book, and it's all in English. And now it became a treasure. I mean, it was kind of, okay, this was one of my mother's books. But since this whole revival and what occurred at my synagogue, and then in fact, I even told Minna about it. So the book is now, this little book of Psalms is, I'm going to actually read, even though it's not the Techinas, but it's kind of did the Techinas contain, Rabbi, all of the Psalms?
No.
Just
I posted the book that we used as our primary source, this one that I found and rescued, which is available at the Yiddish Book Center. And I suggest, just look through the table of contents. It says a techina for this, a techina for that, and you'll just kind of see, some of them. And if anybody, is really interested in this, let me know. Sharon and I may at some point in the future do another study group. I don't know if we will, but we're talking about it.
Yeah.
I didn't use the book that Marna mentioned because it doesn't have a translation into English.
Right.
And I thought it will be quite difficult for us, just to read the Trines without having the translation nearby. So.
And actually, Rabbi, the other thing is I took a course, it's a group in, I don't know, Detroit, I think, and there was a scholar who led it, and it wasn't on the Techinas, but it sounded like it. Saint Elena.
Yeah, Saint Elena is something entirely different. It was written also in Yiddish for women who were not facile with Hebrew to be read. It's organized according to the Torah portion, to the Parsha. So like maybe you're in shul on a Shabbos morning and the Torah is being read and you don't understand the Hebrew, so you've got it Saint Arena in your lap and you're reading. It kind of includes the narrative of the Torah portion with mices, with commentary, with stories, with folklore, all sort of interwoven. The Yiddish is also, I find it difficult, and it's kind of like the Talmud in that it rambles all over the place. You don't know who's talking, and but yeah, it's different from Techinas. It's not prayer. It is story.
I just want to interject one moment. If any of you have a subject that is dear to him and want us to dwell on it in class, let me know, and I will try to find a story or an article or any connection that we can work on it in class. So you are more than welcome to write to me. if you have a specific interest in some subject, and I can try, I don't promise to do it, but I can try to find a story or an article that we can, that as a link that we can discuss that subject through the story of the article, okay?
Great.
Thank you.
So, Barbara.
This was terrific. This was
So
really.
Marna, this has been marvelous. So I'm ignorant. So what are your efforts with regard to giving this information to younger generations of women? Certainly younger generations of women are very aware of what goes on in the broader world about feminist issues, but these values and principles are at our core. And our women, our Jewish women, need to know these things. This is cultural literacy. So I'm curious if there is a more concerted effort to get this information to our young women.
No, not
Silence.
intentionally.
I think there's a need.
Well, I mean, I can tell you that
Do with religion, and this is, Yiddish is not religion. It's different. And this is, we're getting into religion things. So we have to decide. Are we
It's
going
not
to
exactly religion. I won't say that Chin is exactly religion. It's more like everyday life of women in Eastern Europe in the last 2 centuries. So I won't say it's exactly, it has, of course, some religion in it, but it has another dimension. It has another dimension. That's what I think. What do you think, Marna?
Yeah, totally. I think it
of
the
course,
Tuchinas
there's
that
another-
exist show us what women were thinking, what they were concerned with, and what they were praying for. And yeah, to that extent, yes, it is religion. And Judaism is, religion is a very important manifestation of Jewish peoplehood.
We
But
are
it's
doing,
the important thing, it's in Yiddish. It has
Yeah.
nothing to do what it's saying. It's we read Yiddish, any Yiddish.
and also we do Yiddish culture. We do Yiddish
That's-
culture, and Yiddish culture is also, sometimes it has religion, Nili. I know what you think about religion, and some of us do, and some of us don't, but it's Yiddish culture, and Yiddish culture also have this aspect of,
Yeah.
we don't do it very often, but from time to time.
But I find that things that I learned from my mother comes from the Torah. I mean, things that, and she wasn't a scholar, but what she learned at Cheder and what she learned from her mother. So it's it's kind of what's passed down from generation to generation. And in the Rosh Chodesh group, there are women in their 40s, and they're women that have teenage children. I mean, I can think of 2. It's mostly women of our age, maybe down to, I would say, 40s, and predominantly retired. But we definitely have women who have children, and they, sometimes they talk about their children and little issues with children. And I think just having some of this knowledge, and one doesn't necessarily have to pray, but to learn more about Jewish values. And
it's also part of our heritage.
It's our history. Yeah. So I think that there's value, whether it's passed on in a synagogue or in a community or in books, what have you. I think it's valuable.
Okay, guys, thank you very much.
And thank you, Minna, for being so open to such a broad topics. I'm trying to think of one for you.
Okay, no, I have quite a lot. I have material for 6 months. So, but but
No rush.
I can change it.
There was something we did, Mina. I think it was
maybe Trina was mentioned in one of the songs we did that prompted me to say, maybe we should look at this. I can't remember
I
what it
think
was.
it was in one of the songs that Maurice
Yeah,
wrote us. I
yeah.
think it was in one of the songs, yeah. And also Susan, where is Susan? Barbara, do you
Not
know where is
today.
Susan?
Yeah, she remarked that she wasn't going to be on today, but she will join us next week for the Seder.
Okay, it's a pity because she also she wanted, yeah. Okay, sorry, I cannot. Next week we are doing the third Seder, so I will send you material, but if you cannot read it or you will not be able to join us, don't worry about it. It's not written in the Torah, so we can move it. We can move it along.
The teacher I was referring to who told that story is Pesach Fishman. For some reason, I can't find his obituary.
Okay.
Maybe his last name was not Fishman.
No, it was. You're right, Beverly.
It was.
Yeah, I see they do with
Pesach Fishman?
Yeah.
I believe so.
I can't find anything on him in the Google.
Oh.
They missed someone.
No, it's probably there are lots of fishmen.
I know, but not Pesach. No, I'm looking and looking. Anyway, that was his name. Amazing Yiddish person.
Yeah, I have a CD of his biography in New York.
Do you have that story?
I don't know if that story's on it, but I have the CD of his biography.
Oh, I'd love to see that. I loved him.
I get back to New York, I'll look for it.
Okay. Okay, seien wir alle gesinnt und wir sich sehen noch eine Woche.
Nächste Woche, sehr gesund.
Sei gesinnt. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.